What's going on, trail and ultra runners? Welcome to another episode of the KoopCast. As always, I'm your host, Coach Jason Koop, and on this episode of the podcast, we have the one, the only, the incomparable, the original Speedgoat Karl Meltzer. For the uninformed, Karl is the winningest 100-mile runner on the face of the planet today, and dare I say, for forever. In each of the last 18 years, he has won a 100-mile race. Just think about that for a second. It's really difficult to get a 100-mile race right, and he has won one, at least one, in each of the last 18 years. And that might be something that we never, ever see again. And we talk about when or if that record actually might come to an end. Is it COVID that actually takes Speedgoat Karl out? Maybe, maybe not. But Karl is so much more than just a runner. He is an icon in the sport, he is one of the originals, and he is a race director. I caught up with Karl at his house in Sandy, Utah, just after the Speedgoat 50K, which is one of the most difficult 50Ks on the planet, and certainly the most difficult 50K in North America. And we have a wide-ranging discussion, starting with what is it like to race direct in the era of COVID? What do we think about virtual races? And what does Karl think about his accomplishments, his many accomplishments that he has had over the years? I had a lot of fun with this conversation. Karl is one of my absolute favorite people to see at the races as a runner or as a spectator, or in this case, as a race director. I hope you all have a lot of fun with this conversation as well. In an effort of full disclosure, there is a little bit of salty language throughout the course of this podcast. It's not a good one for the kids to listen to. You have been forewarned. So without further ado, here is my conversation with the one, the only, Speedgoat Karl Meltzer. So the wave start wasn't mandated by the county or anything like that? Well, that's something that you guys did?
Yeah. Well, no, we couldn't do a mass start.
Okay.
I think in Utah the thing is 50 people. The gathering is what YOLO, whatever it is. What it is. So we just did 20. We did 20 because that just fit. Every 10 minutes we started 20 people, corralled as many people. We just figured that was right. We did it in an interesting way.
You did do it in an interesting way. I couldn't find the pattern.
No, there was no pattern. I was all in my head. So the very slowest, who I seeded the Elite Slow A and Elite Slow B wave, went at 5:30 and 5:40. And then the Elite Wave went at 6:30. The reason the Elite Wave goes at 6:30 is because the tram ride to the top takes X amount of time.
Oh.
It's about tram operation and getting people out on the course. And then from there we went age groups, which mixed everything.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool because each wave went spread apart instantly. Right. And they had a 10-minute gap. So when I saw runners on the field, when I come down and mark the last 6 miles, runners were 200 yards apart. Every runner was 200 yards apart. There was nothing together. So,
but who was the first wave?
The very slowest.
And you did that off the ultra sign-up results?
Some of that, and then some of it off. I looked at people's results.
So you're hand tabulating.
I was hand tabulating those 40 people.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, and you'll remember this race because I know you've done it. It's Coyote Two Moon.
Totally, yeah, of course. That's how Chris did it. And
yeah.
So I looked at our races. I saw some guy ran way too cool in 3:28. That's pretty fast. But then he does a hard race with any technicality, and he runs 7 hours for the 50K. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, that's just an idea situation, right? But yeah, I just tabulated myself, and it didn't take me that long. It took me like an hour.
Really? Wow, that's quick.
Yeah.
For a field of how many?
40 people.
40 people.
So 220 waves.
Yeah.
Wasn't that bad.
And then the rest of it, so it was the slowest people.
I knew the elites. I seeded the elites, and then that was pretty easy. I don't go off ultra sign. There were some people that say, I really want to be in the elite field. And then I looked them up and they'd have this really good result.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and we had room for it. So okay, I did it, there was 26 people on the elite field line, not 20. But,
Well, we'll come back to the elite field in a little bit because I want to get your impressions on that because I do think there's some interesting takeaways. But let's go over the rules for the 2020 edition of Speedgoat. I mean, you're notorious for like, listen, you got to take care of your own shit. This is trail and ultra running. Like, take care of yourself. We're going to put together killer aid stations. This is different. There are a lot of rules out there. Let's try to encapsulate what the runners had to abide by.
Well, we had to do, we had to do wave starts. We had to do sanitization of everything in the world. Everything had to be clean. So I went to a couple different races beforehand. I went to Bryce. I went to Squaw Peak. I heard from the Logan Peak Trail Run. My wife ran Twisted Fork 64K 2 weeks ago. Yeah. They did wave starts, and we just went and watched. And I didn't get involved with anybody. I just went and watched. And what that did is gave me ideas and thoughts about how to do things. At Bryce, they had a pedal for the water. They had this like drum pedal you could press down to get water from their buckets. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, huh.
Right? It was interesting.
Instead of like putting your thumb on the cooler or whatever.
Right. So that was cool, but standing there watching everybody do it, 1 out of 4 people hit the pedal.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm like, well, that's a great idea, but I don't think anyone can get involved with having to hook that up. So we just said, we'll serve you. I said to some people, it's like going through the drive-through at a restaurant, or going to a restaurant getting takeout food. I worked in the service industry, restaurant industry a long time, and I know how to do that. I know how to put gloves on. I know how to, so that for me was kind of easy. You just had to like place things in the right location. So people would hit the hand sanitizer at the finish line. It was like right there in the middle of the arch, 10 feet when they finished. It was like, hit this first and your time will stop. That was the joke. We saw 2 guys die for it. That was classic. Right?
That's awesome.
Right? So, and everybody complied. There was not one guy or male or female, any runner that complained and bitched about anything. They just like, okay, I get it. And they did it.
Huh.
So, and then they masked up when they came to the aid stations. I think that was a first. I don't think the other races we saw people have to put a mask on at the aid stations. But again, that was easy.
And you had the borders defined.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've got this great, I took a picture from the Hidden Peak aid station where, it's just a sign. It was almost like one of the signs you'd see at the sign of a marathon, like Go Joe. Right. But instead it said, entering masked area.
Yeah, right. And that's what Snowbird has all around the resort too. So we took that idea and it was just like everyone complied. I mean, we didn't have to really turn spectators out of the way. It wasn't like a typical year we'll let spectators ride the tram at 6:30, 6:45, and 7 in the morning. So on the bigger years of the race, those 3 trams were packed with 90 people each, and there was 200 people on the summit with cowbells, cheering, and all that stuff. Might have been a little more complicated with more people, but you just got to have the marshals,
Yeah.
And I think we handled it really well. I mean, not one person gave me grief about anything. One guy complained about having to wear a mask, but there's 1 out of 100. That's okay. No big deal. He was still a good guy. He was so cool. Everyone had to comply. The hand sanitizer was everywhere. Went through a fair amount of that, and just people had to play masks. And I hate wearing a mask. It's hot.
Yeah.
but you have to do it right now. So.
Well, and your aid stations are typically at the tops of climbs or towards the tops of climbs. And so you got to think about it like the athletes are climbing up there.
Yeah.
So they're out of breath the most. It's at the highest, high peaks of elevation, 10,000 feet or whatever. Right. They've been working hard all climbing. They have to like mask up and try to communicate to the volunteers like what's going on and things like that.
Yeah, a few people were dying out there when they had to put it on because they were sucking wind coming over Hidden Peak. But again, no complaints. People didn't complain. They just did it. They left. They were psyched to take it off when they started running again, and then off they went. And what's amazing about the whole thing about all the races now, it's like people seem to go more self-supported. You mentioned how I like to do things alone and not really use that much crew. Everyone, I think they're going to learn from all this stuff that you can actually do a 50K unsupported. You can actually run a 100-miler without crew. 100's different than 50K, but it doesn't take. You don't have to sit down at every aid station.
You don't
provide the chair. Don't provide the chair. Nobody sits in the chair, right?
That's true.
We did have chairs, but it was really rare that someone sat down.
Yeah.
We had sprayers to spray down the chairs, just like restaurants are doing. Like I said, I have that experience, so we just did that kind of stuff, and it wasn't that hard. RDs that are in locations where races can be held, if they're bailing out, I'll leave my mouth shut. It can be done. You just have to take the precautions and do the right thing.
When you were setting this up, I want to try to I want to try to understand a little bit more about like what you had to go through as a race director to pull the thing off.
Well, you know, it's funny that many people believe that I had to do all these special things, all these hoops to run through. First off, Snowbird is 100% on board. Like, they're in the event business, right? They're a ski resort. They want the event to happen if it can be done safely and properly. And I know the president of Snowbird, Dave Fields. He's a friend of mine from way back of ski days. I know everyone at Snowbird, and everyone knows that I do it right. I know how to do it. So they trusted me on that. We put together some protocol. They wanted me to do that, which was not a big deal. That took me about an hour to whip that up on a little Word document and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I learned from some of the other races. And, I presented that to them. They're like, yep, looks good. Okay, checked off that box, piece of cake. I talked to the Forest Service. I have a 5-year permit, and this was year 4, so that the permit was in place. But I still needed to talk to them to make sure that they were going to say, "Hey, Karl, it's okay. We're not going to shut you down 3 days beforehand." So that confirmation with that conversation came about 3 weeks before the race. And when I talked to Ben at Forest Service, he was like, "You can do it. You just got to follow the guidelines." I'm like, check off box number 2.
Yeah.
Third box was watershed.
Which is really restrictive in Utah usually.
It's restrictive it's definitely restrictive. Don't get me wrong, but they will issue permits if they know you. Like our second year at Speedgoat was a problem with watershed. Now I didn't even know about the watershed permit stuff, and so the one guy was laying in the water because he had heat stroke or he was awfully really hot, and watershed shows up, get a guy laying in the creek. That's not like so that. Good. So I said, okay, well, they were upset, and I take all the blame for that, 100%. But I said, when the next year came around, I said, we will take care of that. And we did. We put signs up the fences, head marshals, and, I made everybody say, I won't go in the water, which is key. They all remember that silly stuff. And nobody went in the water. Everything was clean. And now, 10 years later, they're like, yeah, you're good. So I don't even need a permit from them.
So
unless I get porta potties, but that's different. It's a different thing. But
so I mean, it sounds like.
But that's it.
It sounds like all the permitting hoops that you had to jump through really weren't that many.
No, it's Snowbird. It's on a ski resort, so there's some easement to property in the back. So those things are normal. But I didn't have to go through the health department. Because you never do in the first place. Because you're on Snowbird, it sort of all kind of weaves through Snowbird's permits.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So, there were some forms that came up about that, but basically the health department wanted my protocol list of what I'm going to do, and, we can provide that, no problem. And then we were worried about health department more than anything. But it's no problem, just follow the guidelines. Every county around here is different, and this race is in Salt Lake County and Utah County. So the other races that did exist, which was Bryce, Squaw Peak, Twisted Fork, they're all different counties. In Salt Lake County, which had a little bit of a spike in the COVID cases, and so I was concerned about that, but it didn't matter. They didn't go to code orange, which would have been 10 people or something. It's 50 people was the gathering size, so we did 20. So
is it fair to say that you were looking at this from if we're allowed to put this on, we're going to put it on standpoint?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that will move forward. I don't like to sit back and wait to see what everybody else does. I'm not trying to push the limits, I just said, we can do it safely. Why can't we do it if we can do it safely? It's just a matter of doing it right. And I think maybe, I'm not trying to set some standard here, but maybe it'll show other races. If this is still going on next year, which, oh my God, I hope it's not. Yeah. Right? I was asked, will you have it again next year if it's this situation? I said, we'll do it better.
Nice.
Right? Because, there was a few tiny little things that I saw out there that, little tiny things that didn't matter. I'll try to do it better. Maybe this will show other race directors that, maybe, we'll learn from all these earlier racers that started doing it, and then they'll learn from it, and then we'll try to have our race. So, like, Run Rabbit Run is trying to happen. Yeah. Fred over there wants to make the race happen, and he's got really mixed feelings. He's got a bigger field. There's 600 people in those two races, not 200. And there's a little bit more traveling going on. But he's proactive and wants to try to make it happen if it's okay. And he was here volunteering. So, Fred, if anything, you maybe learned one little thing about Run Rabbit Run too.
Yeah.
So hopefully those guys can, make the effort to put it on. Never Summer 100K happened.
Yeah.
That's Colorado, right? And that's not that far from Run Steamboat, right? I don't think. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, it's close.
Fairly
it's close enough. Yeah.
And there were other races that happened too. So it's just other races they seem to be a little under the radar.
Yeah.
They're keeping it quiet, but it's doable. And I'm the kind of guy that will go forward and do it.
Yeah,
I don't even want to just sit back.
Well, I think a lot of the race directors and like event managers, some of them, even though they could technically pull the races off or the events off, they're choosing not to because of a whole host of issues. They don't want people to get sick, right? They don't want their constituents to, fall ill due to COVID. But in addition to that, the amount of effort that they have to like put into the event has like quadrupled or quintupled, and they kind of look at it and go, "Man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore."
Well, it's easy to say, I don't want to do it, and then nobody's going to give you much grief because it is a safest way to go is to say no.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, I totally understand that. Races that canceled early when this was going, like Westerns, Broken Arrow, I kind of understand those. Yeah. That situation was like we have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So that fair case there, but we took temperatures of people before the start line. Everybody had their temp checked. So that's like at least another step forward to say nobody's walking in here with 102 degree temps. Got to finish Speedgoat because it's my bucket list that I came from wherever. Everyone was checked. Volunteers were checked. We kicked people out that didn't have that wristband on.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know if you see. I saw some of that. But
yeah.
A couple people got a little ugly with that. They didn't like it, but I was like, this is our rules. Get out. And the runners all understood it. Every time we had 4 chairs under a shaded tent at the finish line. And those 4 chairs, like when Timmy Part crossed the line and Jesse Run Small for the short race crossed the line, it's fine if they hang out for a few minutes, 20 minutes. Even if there's no one around, let them hang out. We had to sort of tell them to put their mask on, but they're sucking wind. Give them a chance to breathe for a minute. So, we just played the distance thing there. We gave them a little shade, but once a few more people came in, it was very easy to watch people either easily want to gather and shoot the shit. But we just said, hey, you guys, okay, your time's up. And everybody was like cool and just moved on. And it felt like a funeral sort of there.
It's weird.
Was quiet.
It's weird.
And even our speaker system, we blew a speaker, so we didn't have good music. Okay. But usually we have the best music from John and Nobody's got a great playlist.
Another casualty of
COVID. But people were really complying, and you get a couple people that tried to slip over the fence and things like that. But we just policed it. And people don't read. We figured out another thing we learned at this race is that people don't read signs. They need pictures. If you have no runner, you got to put a cross across the runner, the runner guy.
Yeah,
you got to have the biker guy, biker right, or runner left. And I think in the future, what's funny about that is that if you go to Europe, it seems like there's more signs and pictures and things than just actual read the sign.
Yeah.
You can say "Do not enter." That doesn't work. You need like a guy with a thing across. Says "Don't enter this way." It's weird. But
did you accidentally give anybody high fives or fist bumps?
No, I didn't. I was going to get.
You were totally compliant the whole time because I've seen you at the finish line before.
No, I always do. No, I didn't touch anybody. I just I should hit the sanitizer.
Wow.
And then I basically gave them their finisher mug, and we had a guy handing that to me, and I handed that to them, and then that was pretty much. I didn't touch anybody.
Wow.
There's a few people that wanted a photo with me at the end, and when I did that, I just I got close to him, but I had my mask on. I didn't give him the big hug thing.
Yeah.
So I just play by the rules.
Wow.
Everybody understands that.
So temp checks beforehand. Mm-hmm. You roped off some of the porta potties.
Yeah. So we had 3 porta potties. After your temp was checked, only temp checked people could use those porta potties.
It's like the velvet rope for the porta potties.
Yeah. Okay, you're okay. And we only had waves of 20, right? So we had 3 porta potties there for those people temp checked, and then we had some more in the parking lot for. When people showed up. That way, no one's going to get stuck in line at the porta potty. Right? There was no line at the porta potty. There was always an open door. So that made it easy. Nobody was gathering around the porta potties. So we held these little precautionary ideas of how we can slowly move people to the start line and get it going without gathering.
So temp checks, you have the next time you do the roped off porta potties, you need like a bouncer there, like some big dude that just like
I got
at
some
a nightclub or something like that. Like
that would
that's
be pretty
what you
funny.
need. Yeah. Wave starts
up 20.
masked entry into the aid stations. All of your volunteers had masks on all day.
Yep.
I should mention.
Yep.
Everybody's getting handed stuff with tongs. Total full service stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of anything else. I mean, those were the main points of, what to do. We told people, when you pass another runner, put your mask on. Not everybody can just go. I mean, the buff was a little easier, but I mean, when I went down marking the course, or to make sure the course was properly marked for the finish, I didn't have my mask on. I was wide open by myself. But when runners would pass me, I'd step way off the trail and get away that distance, and kind of play that. So we just made sure we did all those little things, and it worked great.
Are you encouraging the runners, if anybody contracts COVID afterwards, to contact you so you can do contact tracing or anything like that?
That's a good point. I actually did not say that, but I didn't say that. Another thing left behind on the thing, but I think with everyone being their temp checked, if something happens, if say Joe Schmo, whatever, can contact COVID, I guess it would be good if he told us, we could try to contact trace people. We thought about doing that at the beginning, where we take their temperature, have them write their name and their email down, what their temp was. It's not easy even though we only had 50 bibs left to give away at race morning. We did 150 bibs from my house on Thursday over a 5-hour period. So those people, what we did is eliminate more gathering at Snowbird, waiting in the parking lot or whatever, by coming to my house over a 5-hour period. And those people just slowly waved in like one at a time. It was great. So we got rid of those 150 bibs. On Friday, we did about another 80 bibs at the start line Friday afternoon. Very slow moving, nobody's around. And then on the morning of the race, you couldn't check in more than or less than 20 minutes before your start.
So you're spacing out.
We're trying to space everything out, like robots go this way, robots go that way, and everyone totally complied. And then it never made all these people waiting in this parking lot to go to their little wave. So I think we did the best thing. I think contact tracing is really hard. It's a great idea in theory, but who's to say that you didn't go to the grocery store to get it either? I mean, it's like you don't know. No one can say, even with all the things that happened with the riots and gatherings in Salt Lake City and other cities, you still can't say you got it from there. Yeah. I mean, you can suspect that for sure, but I don't think you really know that.
Well, I'll tell you what, personally running around on the course, and I went around to a couple of the aid stations. I talked to some of the volunteers there and things like that. I feel way safer out there than I do at the grocery store or any other place that I have to go to every week to, do whatever I need to do.
And it's the same thing. Like I play a lot of golf, and golf here in Salt Lake was shut down for a couple of weeks. Where I have a pass, it was shut down for a month and a half, and I was like, foursomes, okay? Yeah. 4 guys. Well, you don't have to know each other, but everyone's separate carts. They totally space things out like that too. Yeah. It's like one of those things that can still happen if done properly. Yeah. You can't have big events, of course, but it's doable if you space it out. You just gotta figure out how you can do that properly.
Did you have anybody in advance of the race say, I'm out, like I don't feel like traveling, I don't want to come out here? What was the prevalence of that?
Yeah, most of our runners were from Utah, Colorado. Most that drove here, there were some California too, but mostly the people that drove here. We started a wait list, and I think I was the first person to suggest this to Mark at Gilligan at Ultra Signup, is let's start a wait list because nobody gets charged any money, right? There's no risk. So we had 180 or 190 people on the wait list. And when I finally opened it up to go to the start list, you have to accept or decline. So I wasn't just taking your money and say, okay, let's run. About 100 people declined. And, and a number of those people said, hey, due to COVID, I'd rather not come. And I said, well, I'll comp you one of the next 2 years. Done.
Cool.
So not just next year, but you have another year, especially if you're traveling. You can sort of plan it better. I think people like that a lot, but I respect people that wanted to bail out, Yeah. Some of our volunteers, we have rooms for not all of our volunteers, but our key players, like 10 rooms Friday and Saturday night I get at Snowbird. Yeah. And a couple of those volunteers didn't want to stay in the room and go out to dinner with us, and that's not because they don't like us. They just didn't want to, and that's fine, So it wasn't that hard to really pull
together. The volunteer thing was another thing I wanted to get your take on, because that's such a huge part of how races operate is this big volunteer, database that they can pull from. Did you have any volunteers just say, listen, I don't feel comfortable coming at all?
You'd have to ask my wife that more, because she handles all the volunteers, but generally speaking, all of my key players.
How many volunteers do you have, by the way? Do you know?
60.
60? Okay.
65 maybe, something. I'm guessing somewhere around the ballpark. We had one volunteer who would rather not, didn't want to come, but that's fine. Fine. I'm not going to give him grief, and he's sort of one of the key players. But other than that, all the key players were all in, and they told me from the beginning that they were in. Like, there was no. That's awesome. What are you going to do, Karl, about this? Yeah. Well, I'd say, oh yeah, it's free for all. I'd jokingly say that, and they know I'm joking around. But of course, we follow these protocol, and they're just like, no, we can do it. So they were all no problem.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean,
that's unbelievable.
I'm sure there were a few that didn't want to do it, but Cheryl handles most of the volunteers that don't work every year are the ones that say, I didn't want to do it, But the key players were all in.
Wow. Yeah. That's
I get a lot of support.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a big part of the fabric of how these races work. And I think, once again, from a race director's perspective, when they're looking at pulling these things off, they have to have that volunteer base to draw from. And if 50% of it evaporates because they're nervous about whatever, race can't happen.
Yeah, I mean, we were worried a little bit about it, but once I said the key players were in, even if we had to go super skeleton crew, I mean, everybody knows what they're doing. When a week before Speedgoat, I'm not scrambling around, running around with my head cut off, really. I basically just press the button.
Yeah.
And then this aid station knows what he's doing. I don't have to tell anybody where to go. We had a meeting 3 or 4 weeks beforehand, of course, and we talked about it a little bit. And it's an easy, turnkey operation now. It wasn't at the beginning. Beginning was a mess.
It never is.
Oh, God. But now it's everyone's like, oh, I'll be back next year. That's our aid station at Pacific Mine down on the backside. That's kind of complicated. It's a nasty road getting in there.
Yeah.
But Craig Lloyd, who ran that one this year, he's like, I'm good the next 5 years. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit and talk about the elite field. You've always tried to put together a good field here. You put up prize money, you bring people in, and that's not easy. You know how those things manifest. You've got to invite 30 people, and out of those 30, 15 show up.
We talked about this before, right?
And out of those 15, 2 of them might have a good race, and then what's the net result of it?
Yeah.
This year was different because I get the sense in working with and then just following a lot of the elite crowd that come March or April, everybody was just, I'm going to do personal projects this year. I'm not going to worry about the racing scene because we don't know what's going to happen and things like that. But you still tried to orchestrate an elite field. What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go out and contact everybody about it. I certainly, how I am. I'll definitely invite elite runners, but I think I kind of let them just enter. I mean, some bailed out. I was hoping Sage would come. Sage didn't come. Michael Sinceri bailed out. I don't know what the reasons were for bailing out. They didn't tell me anything. But, I like to get – I definitely told some of the faster girls, I wanted to get Anna May here, and she was doing something else. She didn't mention COVID or anything. But I contacted them. I want to see a race, and I want to see someone challenge Walmsley's time, which I don't know if it's possible, but except maybe by Jim again. But we usually had enough elite field. I think there was stronger elite fields back in maybe 2012, 13, 14, when it was at one time a sky running thing, which was important for international. Obviously, that wouldn't happen this year, but I like to see a good race. It's because I'm competitive, I'm not old and slow now, but back in the day,
what could you do on this course now? Course record is 508, right?
504. 504. I don't know. I would say if I hit 7 hours, I'd be ecstatic. I'm not kidding you. I was out so I'm the guy that marks the course. I don't let anyone else mark the course, right? Because I just don't trust people's field of vision. Some guys, they mark the course and they got the ribbons kind of dangles in the tree. It gets stuck in the bushes. You don't see the damn thing. So I do it myself. And I was out there marking the course. I marked from Hidden Peak all the way out, the entire backside, basically, back to the tunnel, which is about a 14-mile leg of marking the course. We start from the top of the tram. We can't get a tram till 10:15, so we're basically starting out in the heat of the day, right?
Yeah, right.
Which was last Sunday we did it.
It's brutal.
Last Monday we did it. It was brutal, and it took Dave and I about 8 hours, 7.5 hours to mark that 14 miles. It's not bad, 2 miles an hour, putting pin flags, It's a long time out in the heat. And I say to myself, why would anyone want to run this race? Because
when you're marking the course,
I'm marking the course,
it's just a part of it.
I'm just nearly dying out there. And I'm like, because it's just hot. And, it's just tough, man. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard race. It's a hard race. I mean, 7 hours. When I say 7 hours, honestly, for the condition that I'm in right now, because my spring wasn't very good. If I was super fit, 640.
Okay.
If
that's what I wanted to get out of you.
If I'm super fit, 640. 7, I'd be hard pressed right now, and I think I'd probably be happy with 7.5.
You're at least an hour and a half off the course.
Yeah.
At least.
God. I mean, just no.
Okay.
I can't even do photo shoots with those guys because my stride length isn't long enough.
Okay. So the elite field this year, like it sounds like you're more passively trying to get people to come into the race versus you're usually pretty aggressive about that.
I've been more aggressive in the past. Yeah. And I think there's so many races out there too. I understand when other guys want to do certain projects, other different things. I get it. UTMB is always a big focus for a lot of guys. I mean, Tim Tollefson was going to come, but he said he refocused on a different project. I don't know what that is, but whatever, that's cool. Mike Sinceri was coming. There were some 3 or 4 other guys that were quite fast and would have made him. Anyone who breaks 6 on this course, I say, is definitely pretty high-end elite. And Noah Brodingham, the guy who won, he ran 5:29. When he finished, he was like, I can't believe I won because I was racing Hayden Hawks. I was racing Anthony Costales, and a number of other guys that went sub-6. And Noah just had a good day, you know. And Hayden didn't really have a good day. Jared Hazen didn't have a good day, Those guys are like top of the class. Yeah. And so they were there. Sometimes with top of the class, you get 2 guys that drop out, 2 guys that have a slow day, and it doesn't look like the elite field's that good. But they were there. They just blew up on the Speedgoat course.
That's the way it always happens. And the harder the course is, the more that gets exposed. You have 10 quality people that enter the field. Half of them are going to have a decent race, so then it's a 5-person race, and then the course chips away at those 5 even more to where it's like a 2 or 3-person race towards the end. Every time without fail, that's what happens in trail and ultra running. It's not a marathon where people can hang around till 20 or 22 miles and then see what happens.
Yeah, this course is it's set up. The way I have it set up, it's
hard.
Mike Mason, a friend of mine, ran, and Mike's like, he got down to Pacific Mine. He got down there. I'm not sure what his time was. It was about 3.5 hours. Like, I should be able to get done about 7. And then he turned around and started coming back up the hill. Mike finished in 8:30. So it's a demoralizing kind of course that you leave Pacific and climb 3,000 feet. You drop down, you get about 10 minutes of downhill, then you're going straight back up the hill again for 2,000 vert.
Well, you have, what's the total vert?
It's about 11.6.
Yeah. I mean, that's cramming a lot into 50 kilometers.
Yeah, and it's the same as vert as Hard Rock. It's not quite as high, but it's tough vert, and the way it's set up, it sort of is set up to mentally demoralize you as well.
It does.
It's intimidating. The last ridgeline circuit is when you're at the bottom of that, you look up and you're like, oh my God, I've got to go up that. And it really isn't that long, but it's just intimidating. It's the intimidation factor. And the last part of the finish of when the final descent's about 6 miles, you go down about 1.5 miles or something. And then there's these 4 little really steep bumps, and it does nothing but raise your heart rate, like to pop through your chest, and it's just demoralizing. That didn't used to be there. Earlier years, it wasn't there, but I put that in like 4 years ago, and it's just another bumper that makes it mentally tough.
So do you want to bring that quality of the elite field back that you had a few years ago?
I'd love to bring the quality back, I don't think prize money is going to bring it back. I've finally determined and almost understand that prize money doesn't really, unless it's really bigger prize money, that I don't think it matters that much.
What's really bigger?
I mean, well, I would say you need 10 grand to win at least.
Yeah.
Then it's like a substantial, okay, 10 grand is 10 grand. 2 grand is like, thanks, not bad. I paid for my trip plus a little more. The first race that had real prize money was Run Rabbit Run, and I won the thing. And that 11 grand that I won that day was like, wow. I was all doing the calculations in my head when I won the last descent. If I come in second, I'm going to lose $6,000. For me at the time was huge. But to race for difference between 1,000, 2,000, and 1,500, I mean, it's nice, but right? I mean, is it?
No, I get you. I don't think you remember this, but I was pacing my wife at Run Rabbit that year, who was in the tortoise division.
Right.
And you went by us right when you passed Dylan.
Oh,
Like
right,
it all
right.
happened like right at the same
That
time.
was
I
a big
remember
day.
I was like, wow, Carl's going to go win this thing now.
Yeah.
And he's going to be really happy because he's going to win 10 grand.
I was pretty
Like,
psyched.
we knew it. We knew
And
it
the
right at
Masters
the time.
division. I
Yeah,
took an
that's
extra
right.
grand
That's
out.
right. You got a
So-
little bonus there.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that is exciting. It's exciting when you're in the field to run for money. That's a fair, decent amount of money. It's fun.
But there's only 2 races that really does that.
Yeah, Broken Arrow was one. Broken Arrow was some good prize money. Run Rabbit Run, $70,000 purse. That's, to me, that's real prize money. And what else is there? I mean, anyone who gives a couple $100, I mean, it's nice, but it's not. No one's really racing for that money. I don't think so. It's more like it's a nice bonus.
So how are you going to get elite runners back if it's not the prize money?
I don't know. It's a tough question. Try to make it as competitive as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, people like competition. That's why they all go to UTMB. They don't offer a massive amount of prize money, but they want competition. If you can say, I'll comp them, but that doesn't get the elite runner to come. They usually don't pay for it anyway, because sponsors take care of them. But I just want to see a good race. I mean, I could definitely do a little more marketing. I'm not a marketer. I don't do any marketing. I'm like I said before, like I don't proactively go after every single person I know to get in, because I can't provide, the hotel room, everything, the travel accommodations. I don't have a budget for that. There's no way. I hardly made any money this year. I spend all my money on my volunteers.
Right.
I spent $4,000 this weekend at Snowbird on dinners,
Yeah.
But I like that. I enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
and volunteers like it. So it's tough to get those fast fields, and I think it's race saturation too. I mean, I think there's so many races out there right now. Even for the elites, there's so many options, and there's so many cool courses that in my career now, it's like I'd rather just go run a good course. Doesn't matter about competition, but it's just hard to really start writing your hard work. It's too close to Western. It's too close to UTMB. I want to run this other 100. I want to set this FKT.
Yeah.
And all people disappears. And like you said, you get 30 to shine up, 15 show up, 5 don't show, 5 have a good day. It's a 3-man race at the end.
Yeah.
So
it's impossible.
It's impossible.
There have been some novel. This is turning away from Speedgoat for a little bit, but I think it's poignant. There have been some attempts over the last few years to try to consolidate those fields with Gold Trail Series and Ultra Trail World Tour, and they've kind of gone. I guess the best way would be kind of in fits and starts, where they can't really like capture all of that competition in the way that they were like initially designed. And I don't know what the code is to cracking that, but I'm kind of your, I'm of your same mind, where I want to see that code get cracked, because I think it's important for the longevity of the sport to have competitive fields at marquee races.
Well, you look at the world marathon majors, right?
Right.
Right. They don't run all 6 of them, right?
Right.
There's just too many 6 marathons a year. Can't do that.
Yeah, right.
Maybe not 207.
Yeah, exactly.
But that sometimes you don't get everybody in all those fields,
Right.
I mean, in ultra running, if there's no way to get runners to travel all around the world to pay all their expenses, you're not going to see a series that skyrunning. In the U.S., skyrunning has tried it multiple times, and they failed a couple times. And the races attract a lot of good runners, and I love it. And I was the beginning of skyrunning in the U.S., but it just doesn't. People can't travel all around the world, and it's competitive. It's become a global sport.
Right.
It seemed like for a while in the U.S. we only knew U.S. UTMB brought the U.S. runners to Europe, and we discovered, these mountains are a little bigger. They're a little tougher.
Just slightly different.
Competition's a little tougher. And they started learning, but the travel was expensive. Yeah. I mean, you want to jump on a plane to Europe, it's $1,000 or more than that. Depends, on the times, but it's expensive for a lot of people, and people have families, they have kids, and I mean, I have dogs. I can keep them at home, but things change. It's a different topic, I guess, a little bit, but things change, and you just can't. People aren't paid enough, like pro golfers or like pro football players, whatever, to travel all over the place and do this stuff. It's tough to have a series.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to Speedgoat.
All right.
Did you ever think about having a virtual race?
No.
Not even close.
No.
Not
There's
on
no
your radar.
virtual races. What is virtual race?
I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well,
That's not
you
in
know
your
me.
lexicon. Virtual.
Sometimes
race,
I get a
Karl.
little, blah 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 on social media, and I say things I probably shouldn't say about
You can
virtual
say whatever
races.
you want to on this podcast. Right?
Yeah, I know. Well, at the virtual race, it was Laz once again did something that went off the chart. Right, his timing was impeccable. Right. 19,000 people signed up to run across Tennessee. And nobody ran across Tennessee.
No.
They ran wherever the hell they ran. The hell is that? If you can run X amount of miles, then you get a medal. Well, everybody does that anyway. Make your own medal. I don't know. I think the virtual race is silly. I think it's stupid. The only way you can't, like Clark Zealand, I think, had an idea, which I thought, if you're going to do anything virtual, Clark had the best idea, was that you have to run the course. You got to show your track, whatever, if you want to get your time. If you want to pay your entry fee and not get the option to roll over, and you really want that medal, you've got to do it on the exact same track. You can't do it on your treadmill. What the hell is that? One guy raced Mike Wardian. One guy was on a treadmill. Wardian's running around the block for like a couple of days. I mean, the guy on the treadmill, but the treadmill like stopped, or he like became delirious and like fell off the treadmill or something, right?
I think he forgot to start. Or he like lost track of the time and then didn't start when he was supposed to start.
You don't sleep for 60 hours. You lose track of time.
No, I mean,
right?
Totally.
But Mike, I mean, I think that was totally. I mean, Mike Wardian will run anything, and I love the fact that he does that, right? And I think it kept him motivated, and I think it's awesome. But you can't compare what you do against someone else if you're not at the same venue. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
So not a virtual race.
No,
fan.
I'm not a virtual race fan. I think it's stupid.
It's interesting because initially when all the virtual races started to happen, like people started to gravitate towards it because it was the only game in town.
Right.
And now that everybody has a little bit of a taste of it, some people, they like that flavor ice cream. They don't have to travel. They can connect with people virtually, and there's just something to it. Other people, like you and your curmudgeon self,
yes,
it's not your cup of tea. It's not your flavor of ice cream.
Well, I mean, I think people maybe thought that, oh my God, this is going to go on forever. I'm not going to have any goals to shoot for. We both coach people, and we both know that when no races are going on, it doesn't make it any easier. It's hard to motivate someone to say, okay, let's train for this, and it might be canceled. Yeah. And then it does get canceled. Then train for this, and it gets canceled. That's happened with a lot of people, a lot of different coaches. It's tough. The virtual race, maybe that inspired some people to motivate to get out the door. And I think that's great if it did that for them. Got them for those people that have a hard time getting out the door, and this gave them motivation, hey, more power to you. But,
not for you.
Not for
There's
me.
not going to be a virtual Speedgoat 50K.
No, virtual Speedgoats. No.
It'd be hard to recreate the terrain out there.
If it's free, what the hell? Yeah, he virtually did Speedgoat. Good for you. Don't break Walmsley's record 505 and tell me you beat him virtually. That's not happening.
Oh, God. Okay, so speaking of Speedgoat records, you've got this streak going of 100-mile wins.
Yeah. This might be the last year, Jason. Number one, I had my chance. I won't say I didn't have my chance, right?
Yeah.
I had my chance this year to do it, and I still would have been kind of like laughing in the back door there saying, I got my 100-mile win, got it in January, but I didn't. My IT band was jacked after 30 miles of that race. I survived 60 of it, and after like hobbling, I just had enough. And I could have. I mean, if I was didn't have that issue, I had a chance to pull away with that win. But I've got Superior 100 on my list. I'm out of shape. I'm not really out of shape that bad, but if the race is happening, I'm going to go do it. Nice. And I'm going to see and I'm going to, I may drive there because I love to drive 20 hours at once. It's like running 100. But I'm going to go if it happens, and I'm going to give it everything I have, but there's certainly no guarantees that the 52-year-old legs are going to pull away with that one. The course fits me well because it's technical. Yeah. That helps me a little bit maybe, but that's the only thing I got in the bank.
You're not going to design a virtual race to win.
No, I'm not gonna run around my yard either. Make some rocky corners and go into the tree over there either and try to get. Yeah, no.
How many years?
It's 18.
18.
Yeah, 18 in a row.
That's incredible.
It shows some longevity for sure. I mean, in the 2000s, I was always after the most competitive race. I always ran Hard Rock you know, and as opposed to like trying to get in Western. I kind of wished I would have run Western when I was sort of faster and at my peak. I gravitated to hard rock because hard rock, I mean, as you know, is like, it's not Western. It's quite a bit cooler than Western, I think. The course is itself. The race is, Western's awesome. You know, it got a little less competitive as I got a little older. I still ran fairly decent times my last couple that I won. I just don't have as much competition. But, at the same time, to go back and gravitate to the same race year after year after year is, I see a lot of people do it. I've only run 100. I've run Wasatch 15 times, but they've never gone to the Bear or they've never gone to over Colorado. And at this point, I'd rather go see a different course and go in blind. You know, I went in blind at the Cloud Splitter 100, which is a small race, but the course was awesome. You know, I'd never been there before, so it was all single track, just about all single track. And it was beautiful, you know. So I went and ran a different race by myself. I flew there. I drove there myself. I woke up in the morning and ran 100 miles. Back in the plane and flew home. You know, it was great. I got sick before it, so it was kind of a nightmare on that end of things. But I pulled it off. You know, it's cool to see different courses at this point. At this point in my career, that's more fun. And as far as Superior coming up, I've never run Superior, so it's always been on the list. And so whether I do well or not, if it happens, I'm gonna go and see what happens.
But 18 years it's been in a row that you've won a 100-miler. This is year 19.
This would be 19.
So this would be 19. How, over the last few years, how important has that streak been to you to keep alive?
I think it's dwindling a little bit. I think some people say that's sad. Oh, you don't really want to keep winning hundreds. I mean, yeah, sure. Everybody likes to win. It never gets old, right? But I mean, my desire I think it's not the desire to not race as much, but training is hard. You know, when you get older, we both know you don't recover as fast. It takes more effort. It's just harder, you know, like marking that course was a nightmare. It's just different to train as hard as I used to when I was younger. So all streaks must come to an end, you know. I'm not saying it's at an end yet, but and if I go to Superior and I run and I actually enjoy it, maybe I'll find something else in the fall to run, you know, if something even happens. Yeah. You know, it's not as important to me anymore. I think my focus has changed just a little bit. I have this thing in the back of my head that I want to just sort of retire so there's no pressure on me to race. But I think if I do that, if all of a sudden I say, hey, I'm retired, just like Michael Jordan retired. And no, I'm not Michael Jordan, but I'm just saying, when Michael Jordan retired, he came back, right? Yeah. Right. He went and played baseball. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to go play soccer after my career here of running and then come back to running. But who's to say when I'm 52 now, who's to say when I'm 56, I don't say, hey, I want to go take another shot at something, you know? Maybe I take a year or two off of not really being super competitive and just kind of doing things that I like to do. And then the fire might turn back, but the fire is not much wood left in the shed. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Well, you burnt a lot of that wood on the AT.
I burnt a little wood on the AT.
I mean,
times.
Come on.
No,
Let's
right?
be honest.
Right?
I mean, you were out there a few times.
Right. And I think, you know, when Dave Horton told me, well, you do something like that, you're never going to be as fast as you used to be. Never. You know, I ran across
That's a good Dave Horton
I ran across the country. You know, and when I first ran the AT in 2008, you know, I heard that line from Dave, and I think I was 41. And I actually, when I finished that, I was like, that's almost when I coined the phrase 100 miles is not that far. Because after doing 2,200 miles, it was like 100 miles like child's play. Yeah. It's totally child's play. And same after I did the Pony Express, where I did that, which is 2010, 100 miles was even easier. And I still had like that relative speed for a 100 miler anyway to do well. Made hundreds feel easier. Then I go back in 2014 and I fail at the AT. I didn't start off in very good shape and there were some other issues, but so I fail there. And then in 2016 I do it and I actually get the record. But yeah, I mean, your legs get slower. I mean, it took me 5 months to recover from the AT in 2016, after 2016. Like 5 months till I said, hey, I think I'm up to speed, you know, and that's a long time to say I feel back to normal. And then after that, I can run those hundreds, but to run it at really top speed, it's just not all there like it used to be.
Every single one of my athletes that's ever done a big through hike, JMT or Colorado Trail or whatever, has that exact same experience. They go back to running 100 milers and they're like, this is easy, brah. Like,
Yeah, piece of cake.
Come on.
Like it takes 20 hours. I'm out of here. 24,
Yeah.
30 hours, whatever. It's just like, it's one day. Try doing that every day for 15 hours for 40 days. It's off the chart. I mean, it's your body, when you do those AT things, your body becomes accustomed to, after, a couple weeks of it, your body becomes accustomed to waking up at 4:30 in the morning and finishing your day wherever it is. I was full on autopilot. But can your body handle it? That's the thing is, I had an injury. Jurek had an injury. This girl who's doing it right now, who is doing great, she's come down with some shin injuries, and now she's probably not going to get any records, but they hurt, and you have to expect to take a long time. I had a client do the AZT recently, and she did great, but she's coming back is like, I'm like, it's not going to be 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It's going to be like multiple months before you feel like you're going to feel better. And that's basically what it's been taking. So it's tough.
You and I, we both know Scott Hyman pretty well. And after he set the Colorado Trail record, he doesn't have it any longer, but when he set it, I remember him telling me that for months he would drive to like a client's, place of business and like fall asleep in his car.
Yeah.
He'd wake up like an hour or two late. He'd go to the meeting. He'd come back and he'd fall asleep in his car again.
It's a lot of sleeping going on after those things. Yeah. You got to recover by sleeping. Well, no shit, but we sleep all day long. I mean, I slept after the AT. I mean, you wake up and it's like you're, after I had heart surgery, I guess you walk out to the garage and you come back like, oh, I'm tired. Boom, hour nap. Then you get up and do something, hour nap. Yeah, I was doing that a lot. I mean, I take enough naps now as it is, seriously. But after those long things like that, your body is just so fatigued. You're just kind of a mess. Like even Jurek was like, your endocrine system is just a mess for the longest time.
But still, you won a 100-miler. How long after that?
Last year, 2019. So
yeah,
and I won 2 last year. Yeah, I mean, they weren't as fast as they could be. But they were still all right. I mean, 19 hours. I don't care if it's flat. 19 hours ain't bad.
Yeah.
And then Cloud Splitter was actually 24,000 feet of climb and ran 19 hours. So I have that autopilot when I feel good I can hold my autopilot. It's just I just don't race in a 50K because I'll get crushed.
Not Speedgoat.
I'll never run my own race. No, thank you. Mark, I was trying to get in shape this year just to mark the damn thing.
Well, leave it to COVID in 2020 to potentially put that streak to an end.
Right.
I hope it doesn't because it's been fun following that.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even been ultra running for as long as you've been doing that.
I can do a virtual Karl 100.
Let's not do that.
No,
I don't.
Just kidding. There'll be no virtual 100-mile win. That'll go into a little scrutiny.
Somehow I think though that somebody's going to approach you and say, "Hey, listen, I've got this 100-miler. There's like 5 people entered."
Well, I mean, I won't break any names out here, but I've also I claim to hold the record for the most 100-mile wins in a season, being for males. And Trayson won 7 one year for males, and I won 6 in 2006, I think it was. And someone has won 7. I'm going to say a guy has won 7. That's correct. But there were 51, 20, 10, 5, 5, 2, and 2 people in the fields. 2 people. I mean, you got a 50-50 shot of winning if you walk as slow as possible.
Yeah, somebody's going to go fact check that after.
Well,
after this
probably.
and find out
leave
who
it
it
at
is.
that, and then talk to me later. But I was like, and even in fair to say, he's like, yeah, it's definitely not the same. So it's not like he's claiming, oh, I run 7 in a year. Yes, you did. Well done. But I mean, I won Wasatch, I won Bear, and they were all fast. San Diego, they were all good times. And the fastest race I ran, I came in 2nd, which was Massanutten when the dude beat me there. So that was a phenomenal year for me. That was definitely my peak. But I mean, that was one of my big claims to fame. And when I first won 4, when I beat Eric Clifton won 4 in 1 year. That's when I was chasing that 1 year. I've done that multiple times. I don't think in this day and age people are going to do that anymore. I think people focus on 1 race or 2 races, which is fair. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just changed my focus in the early 2000s and said I want to win hundreds.
Well, I would make the bet right here, right now, that we'll never see somebody win a 100-miler 18 years in a row.
No, I doubt it. I don't think they'll win 42 either.
Yeah,
that's another thing too. It's just not the focus. You've got to win multiple ones for multiple years to even come close. Browning's like the closest.
Yeah,
he has 22, but he's 47. You know, if he was 37 or 40, I might even say, hey, but it's going to be a tough record to beat.
Yeah, I don't think I'd put a lot of money on that if somebody would let me.
Yeah, that's fair. I appreciate that. Is what it is.
No, I mean, totally. I mean, you did a lot of things, irrespective of the quote unquote error or whatever, that are just simply not going to be touched.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, that was my focus. I saved my money in the wintertime so I could run in the summer. Right. I lived a poor life. Not really poor anymore, but you live the ski bum life. You focus on one thing and just do what you enjoy, and that's what I did. I did what I enjoyed, instead of worrying about anything else. But now I'm, ready to retire.
It's
gone by fast, man.
Wait, hold on. Is the end of the 100-mile streak going to be like the line of demarcation to when you quote unquote retire?
No, I don't. Maybe. I don't know if I had an answer to that, but I don't want that. One of my buddies a long time ago asked me, he said, hey, when you're not competitive anymore, are you just going to retire and quit? And I said, and at the time, I said, no way, man. I'm just going to keep running. This was 10 years ago. I said, I'm going to keep running and just keep, going as hard as I can or whatever. But I am at the point now where it's like, it is a little frustrating to not have the bullseye on my back anymore. In 2000, I had the bullseye on my back. Now, there's no bullseye there now. Nobody's in darts, It's like nobody's really aiming at him. There's a lot of other guys. There's tons and slew of other people that are way faster. And I think it's awesome that the sport has progressed to where we're seeing things done that are just like, and it was funny, I was yakking yesterday. I said, when I was talking to our crew at the breakfast table and someone mentioned Hard Rock in 2001, they're like, no one's ever going to break that record, 26:39. No way. So anybody breaking that? And here, 22:41 now. Yeah, and I'm like, it can be broken. You just, records are, like the movie says, are made to be broken. And it's like, they will continue to go down. Because people they train harder, they're younger, they're faster. Just like basketball and football players, they're bigger, they're tougher. The refrigerator in football, 300 pounds was massive, right? Yeah, all 350 pounds now. So it's like, the world is growing exponentially, like too fast.
What do you think the Hard Rock course record can get taken down to?
Well, we just saw Jim do some pretty fast running out there, right? So I've always believed too that if you can run so fast for, a 20K race or something like that, why can't you do that for 100 miles? Well, there's a lot of factors involved there, right? We all know that.
Yep.
But I think what we're seeing with Jim is the way he gets aggressive and goes for it. I think if Killian really raced as hard as he really wants to, as hard as he can on Hard Rock, I think he can go to 21. If Jim got to Telluride in 5 hours, I used to get there in 7. I was leading, Jim went there in 5. Why can't it go? If he's on a 20-hour pace for 70 miles, why can't that go longer? It's just fueling and nutrition, hitting that fine line of right in the nose. I mean, if you can push the limit so hard, but if your nutrition can't handle that limit, it's like something's gonna break. As you're teeter-tottering all the time on the edge,
20 hours? Or are you saying 21 hours? I'm going to pin you down on one of these.
I think 21.
21?
I don't think we'll see 20.
You don't think you'll see 20?
I don't think so.
All right.
I mean,
we'll have to come back 5 years from now.
Some guy's going to come along. When Matt Carpenter was ripping Pikes Peak apart, that record is still phenomenal, 3:16:39. I was there that day.
Yeah, nobody might break that.
That record is phenomenal, and it's one of the best records in sport, right? Yeah. But in 100-miler, there's so much more room for time. I mean, it's 100 miles. It's a 20-hour race. There's time to shave in a lot of places. Yeah. What if Killian didn't sit there and eat that orange for a minute and a half, or little shit like that? Pikes Peak, on the other hand, is like, I mean, Dakota ran down faster than Matt, right?
He did.
So, but can he get up in 201?
Trail too. Right, a worse trail.
Right,
that's what a lot of people don't realize. Is Bar Trail is in way worse shape now than it was when Matt broke that record. With all due respect to Matt, who I love and admire a lot, the trail was in much better shape. It
was California single track back then. It's not. Yeah, I mean, I ran that year. Mark Carpenter did, and it wasn't that technical.
No. I think sub 20 is possible.
All right. Well, $500 is
all right. We'll put it down. We'll
over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying,
right.
not
We'll
over the entire. No, when I'm 70, I got to give you $500 because someone broke it. That's bullshit.
We'll have to come up with the rules of this bet later.
Right. But yeah, I think Jim proved that it can be done though, actually, because he just threw down enough. If he was 13:20 at 71, then you can be 15 hours at 75, which means it's doable.
Yeah.
And
now people have the marks to go after. That's the other thing
Right,
about these
right.
records, and especially with what we were talking about earlier with the AT or any of these FKTs. Every time a mark gets set, it gives the next person something to shoot for,
Right.
which if you've never been in that situation, it's hard to comprehend how meaningful that actually is. Like having this, okay, somebody's actually done this, and I can go a little bit faster.
Right.
Like
Just
that's
a
a
little bit.
big part of the progressive curve.
I mean, you look at the AT record now is 41 days and I think 7 hours and change.
Yeah.
Now that is insane, right? Karl, when he set that, he didn't have a bad day.
Yeah.
And it's a different
That's
subject.
hard.
But that's like incredible to not think you didn't have a bad. I had a great day for 18 days, and when I was going after it, I was following Jen Farr's splits, who I was trying to break. I was a full day ahead of her, and she didn't even finish all in one big pop. So I was like almost a day and a half ahead of her at that point. Then my shin kind of like the guitar string broke, and I was like, But she sort of set the bar at that point. She sort of set the bar. You follow her bar, and then Jurek goes and breaks that, and then string bean comes along and shows how you maximize your efficiency much better. Even though he's self-supported, if it's 6 o'clock at night, instead of like, I'll sleep a little longer in the van, I might as well just walk for 3 more hours.
Right.
And so that's where string bean was so awesome, because it's more efficient. And then Karl takes the hybrid into the picture, and boom, 4 more days drop off the record. So it's in anything even in that long, it's like even more efficiency that can break time.
Yeah, I think especially in ultra running right now, and I've harped on this a lot, not only in this podcast, but in a lot of other podcasts, it takes a tremendous amount of performance context to really paint the picture of what's possible. Mm-hmm. It's not just 1 or 2 great times or even 5 years or sometimes even a decade of like performances. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people like we've had at Western States.
Yeah.
Or that we've had starting to see actually at UTMB. To say, okay, this is kind of what is possible. Even Hard Rock kind of has that problem because their field sizes are so small every year that there's not enough competitive depth year after year after year to paint this picture of what's possible.
Yeah, could you imagine if Hard Rock had 50 of the fastest guys in the world go after that course
every year?
Yeah, like UTMB kind of does.
Exactly.
There's no reason that you'd get 25 guys under 30 hours.
Yep.
And when I broke that record, it was like there was 1 guy under 30 hours. And now it's like you're going to have 25 guys in 1 year under it. That will never happen in Hard Rock. We know that won't happen unless, someone makes another Hard Rock on a different date.
I was talking to
and says
Blake,
the elite Hard Rock.
I was talking to Blake Wood the other day about this. So Blake Wood's a total badass, former Hard Rock winner, Nolan's finisher, Barkley finisher. And we were talking about the year that he won Hard Rock. And he said, do you know what place my time is on the all-time Hard Rock list right now? Do you just take a guess?
Okay, I know what he ran because he passed me coming down.
It was like 30 hours, like just
it was 30-10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what
he passed me coming up Buffalo Boy, and I was like, and then I dropped. But so he ran 30-10. So I'm gonna say he's 57th.
No, you're not even close. It's over 100. It's like 100. It's like 130 or something like that.
God.
And his remark, you'll love this, Karl. This is hilarious. His remark was every year there's like 10 more people that pass him on the list.
Yeah, no, I should have thought about
So you just work the math out. How long has it been since he won, right?
And that was 2000. That was actually 1999.
Yeah,
I know the year because
But anyway, my point with that is like, it just takes a tremendous amount of time for that picture of performance context to be painted. And you and I both remember when the Hard Rock course record for the men was under 24 hours. Everybody thought that was unbreakable.
Right.
And now you fast forward just a few years and it's like, well, that's somebody's going to be 4 hours faster than that pretty soon.
You watch. Someone will just all of a sudden boom and will nail it. And you know, everybody else to be sitting in the gym just like they were when I broke the record, 26 hours. I'm like, where is it all the cameras?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that'll happen. I mean, and that was pretty classic. Got all these memories. You know, it'll be in the book one of these days.
Is there gonna be a Karl book?
Oh,
Please let there be a Karl book.
I know, but it's gonna be. It needs to be a Karl book of stories of just like the funny stuff that happened, and all of my life. I have a book written right now. It's just not exactly what I want yet.
About your life?
Well, just about it's kind of about. It's not just about I ran this race, then I ran this race, then I ran that race. I don't want it to be a chronological order of like what I did. I want some people to understand like sort of like what's in my head, which I'm not so sure what's in there sometimes, but just my vision on some things, why I'm a little sarcastic sometimes, why you should just do what you want to do and not listen to others. Why
When's
do you
this
learn
book
the hard
gonna
way?
come out, man?
I don't know, man. I'm still working on it. I'm not a writer. That's the problem. I just like it. I have a very short attention span. I'm very detailed with some things that I do. But at the same time, my attention span is really short, and I lose interest in things if I don't really enjoy it that much. So it's really been really hard for me to put it together and to be pleased with what's there. And I don't want to put something on the market that's not 100% like authentic. And that's the hardest thing, because it's easy to, not easy, but it's throw something out to the mainstream and you can just write this book. It's, I got a book. I'm going to sell, 300,000 copies. I don't want that book that someone says, it was all right. I want someone to say that was fucking hilarious. Or that was freaking hilarious. I just want, this guy lived a life that like, wow. Everything is falling into my lap, Jason. From moving to Utah to be a ski bum, to becoming a runner, to winning Wasatch, to my wife, to breaking some records, to owning my house, to finding a piece of land in Ridgeway recently, to all kinds of things have fallen into my lap. Random crap. And I've just learned to jump on things when I felt right, and that's what I did. And the Speedgoat shoe, I mean, with all due respect, 60% of the field was wearing them this weekend.
Dude, I love those shoes.
They're great, and
I'm
that
picky
fell
about
into my
shoes
lap.
too.
Yeah, that fell into my lap in a certain way where I, in the 90s, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you had a shoe named after you?
It's like Michael Jordan.
We're just driving home, seeing a jackrabbit running across the road, Speedgoat, and wouldn't that be cool? That's a great name for a shoe. You bring it up to companies that are like, oh yeah, good idea, Karl. And then now, right? It's like a freaking phenomenon. And I every day I go running, whether it's in the Wasatch, I mean, more localized here, but I see him everywhere, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to say. It's cool. I mean,
is that more meaningful than the 1,800-mile wins in a row?
I think it's a cool piece of my legacy to say I got a shoe.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan has a shoe, right? I ain't no Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's true.
But
but you're Speedgoat Karl.
But Speedgoat Karl, right? But not many people can say that. When the president of Hoka, Jim Van Dyne, he said, "Yeah, let's do this project of putting a shoe together with that name on it." I never really expected them to say, "Yes, let's do it," but they did it, and now it's like an honor, It's really cool to see people, even people that aren't even runners, they're out hiking around, they're wearing them, That's like the running store, it's their most popular shoe. Wasatch Running Center, it's their most popular shoe. It's like, wow.
I don't think people appreciate how big of a risk that is for a shoe company.
Yeah, totally. It's huge. I mean, it's when, say, hey, I've got this name Speedgoat, and I kind of bought this trademark, and have this trademark stuff, and is it really going to pan out? Is it really going to be worth it? And yeah, they took a risk when they did that. And, the first version wasn't really all that great. And I that's the truth. That's what I feel. And then we changed it. It was totally different on version 2. And then all of a sudden it's like, this shoe actually works. And, a lot of the input came from me initially. And just basically mostly the tread and the amount of padding and cushion and stuff. But I'm not a shoe designer. I had to work with those guys to learn how to make that stuff. I don't know how to do that stuff, I just had ideas. Yeah. And they thought the idea was right. And I was in the right position, sort of. This shoe was sort of at the time the one of 3 trail shoes that category wasn't filled yet, sort of, for Hoka anyway. So it was like, oh, this is a good category. Get this, the hard, tough mountain racing shoe. And it was like, it was sort of a no-brainer to get that category going, and then just why not attach this guy's name to it? I mean, it's not the Meltzer, it's the Speedgoat. They could dump me and say it's a Speedgoat, then that would be a problem. But but it's a good name no matter what, and it's just funny that it all came about 25 years later after just yakking about it with my buddies. Yeah, that is important to me. I think to say that I have a shoe. The 18 years is big. I think the 42 to me is bigger. But that's just my opinion.
Let's get back to the book, because I did not know this before I came over to your house today. What's it going to take to get the book out? Because I got people.
Yeah, you got people. I know,
man.
I know. I need help to remember some stories. I need to.
I don't have those people.
Well, it's a few beers, Jason, would usually get some of that shit going. Okay, we've got beer at the store.
Okay.
There's more at the store.
Okay.
But it's funny. We're sitting around the other day, and we were talking with some friends, and I started talking about the 1 year that Hal Kerner, myself, Ian Torrance went to Hard Rock, and I'm like, hey, you guys want to come out? Come out for a couple weeks at Hard Rock. We'll camp. And we're like, yeah. And the shit that happened on those 2 weeks of just the three of us guys shooting shit, hitting golf balls. Hal and Ian are terrible golfers. Terrible. Just they can't hit the thing 20 yards. We had our little tea time at 7 p.m. when the sun went down to hit balls into the spot. We'd go retrieve them. Hal would always have to go to the spa to get a shower. He shows up with a tiny little pad in the tent with nothing else. And Ian and I have our trucks dialed out. We're styling out. And Hal shows up. I'm like, Hal, take my tent, dude. Here's a pad for you. Kerner always fooling. Was always on the fly. Always shows up late. But we just did stuff that was just funny, and I think people would really laugh at those stories at times. There's so many things we did. The breaking my arm at Zane Grey. Yeah. Little stuff like that. I just want that stuff to flow into the book. I'm not a writer, so I have a guy that was a ghostwriter for a lot of it. And he did a great job with a lot of stuff. But it's just, I just need to weave those stories into it.
Yeah, that's a hard
weaving the stories into it is what I'm missing. I have the stories. I've got a million stories of things that we did, but I have to weave those in properly. And that's just, I do need a little help with that. I need someone to sit here, whether it's yourself or someone else, and just be taking all the notes down and put one chapter together at a time instead of trying to fill in the whole thing at once.
Yeah, you need a proper co-author.
Yeah.
Somebody who you could somebody who you know or trust, or who you trust a lot, that you can sit down with and say, okay, here's all the crazy shit that happened. And then you'll call all the people and get their stories.
And that's the shit that I haven't done. And that's the hard part is I got to call Ian and tell him to talk about that and what happened. Those things, it's a lot of effort involved. You can't just scribble something on paper and say, that's good.
We're getting this done, man. Okay. I'm gonna connect you with some people who can bring these stories to light, because I will read the Speedgoat book for sure. The trail and ultra running community needs a book of all the things that you've been through.
I don't think there 100%. Are many books out there about elite runners or past elite runners that have stories of their funny times. I mean, no, not really, I mean, I'm sure there's a few, but I've lived a weird life, man. I've been really lucky. I've done a lot of shit that just, I don't know, sleeping in my car, running races, sleeping in our cars, We used to sleep at the start lines. Used to go to run Zane Grey for $300, drive down, sleep in a car. Just, people don't do that anymore.
All right, we're going to get it done. It'll come out 2021.
All right.
Let's see what happens first. The 100-mile streak comes to an end. Or the book gets published.
All right, that's a good point. We'll see. We'll see
which one of those
I'll try to get that. I better get that 100-mile win then.
Ooh, man. All right, man. Well, good luck to you for the rest of the season. I do hope that streak continues to remain alive. I know you're kind of off playing a lot, but I think there's a lot of people rooting for you out there.
Well,
in fact, I know there's a lot of people rooting for you out there.
I do think if I can put together a healthy couple of good solid months of training, I can get myself back to whatever speed I got left. And I'm not saying super speed or by any means, but I've had my mix of training lately has been really off and on. I have a left knee issue that bothers me once in a while, and it's not allowing me to go be aggressive going downhill. Yeah. I can run, I can do it, but I don't want to feel that. That's kind of holding me back a little bit, and it's been getting a little frustrating because April and May this year, or actually more like March and April, I had a calf muscle issue where I really couldn't run more than 20 miles a week. when you're 52, you lose your fitness a little bit faster. Coming back takes even longer. So, I can go run up White Pine, which is up in here at Snowbird, 2,500 foot climb, 4.5 miles. Typical, I used to just ding, 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 bounce to the top in 55 minutes. Now I get to the top in 1:15. Because I'm hiking more. But it's just when you start to lose that punch in your step, it gets harder to come back, and the motivation is harder because it's becoming harder. That curve is getting steeper for me, and I hope I can level the curve a little bit. No pun intended, I guess, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead. I'll just say that. I'm not dead yet. So I'll keep trying. I mean, I will, hopefully Superior happens, even if I don't win Superior, which I don't likely think I will, but that could spark a fire. I mean, let's hope that it does. I mean, December 31st is the end of the year.
That's
right. Remember that. It's not September 20th.
That's right.
It's December 1st. So, December 31st. So we'll see.
Well, however it pans out, man, we'll be watching with all intent.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
It's cool that people are still watching.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time, Karl.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jason. Great time.
And there you have it, folks. What do you think? That was a fun one. As I mentioned during the intro, I love hanging out with Karl. He is an original. You always know what's on his mind. He is authentic as it comes and a heck of a runner to boot. I do wish him the best. I hope this book comes together. I would be the first one to buy it. I would buy 10 copies and give it to my athletes and give them to my friends. Karl, good luck with that. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you to all the listeners listening to this podcast today. I really appreciate the heck out of each and every one of you that tune in relentlessly every single week to this podcast. If you have not had the chance to do so, head on over to Apple Podcast and give this podcast a rating or a review. It helps out a lot. It means a tremendous amount to me personally. I appreciate the heck out of it. And as always, we will see you guys out on the trails.